Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Two and a Half. Today I'm going to be talking about alcohol and alcohol consumption. Why am I going to talk about alcohol and alcohol consumption and hangovers? The reason I'm going to do that is last night I had a couple of adult beverages. I went out and had some wine and some beer, and by the end of the evening I just really felt like crap. This morning I woke up and I still felt like crap. So I wanted to give you at least some general ideas of what alcohol is. I'm not going to talk about why you shouldn't drink alcohol. That's not the purpose. But I really wanted to discuss with you what your body does and how it tries to assimilate and get rid of the alcohol that you drink. Now, what is alcohol? Alcohol is just simply a fermented byproduct of a fruit or a grain. You think about the fermentation process. So you put a lot of this fruit and the grain with other ingredients together, and the yeasts in this environment react with other certain chemicals in that environment, and it creates alcohol or ethanol. And alcohol or ethanol is just simply a toxin to the body. And what I mean by toxin is that there's no nutritional value in a toxin. All your body tries to do is just fight it and get rid of it. So you consume a significant amount of alcohol, what happens is that your body gets overloaded with toxins and it can't process and assimilate those toxins at one time, and all of the leftover toxins are there in our body and just basically continues to wreak havoc. You couple that, and I'm sure that you guys have heard me talk about many times about the crappy diet that we eat. And again, the process is exactly the same. The body gets overloaded, especially the adrenals and the liver, and it has a hard time getting rid of these toxins in the environment. So, alcohol, what happens when you consume those, that your liver has to try to process those and get rid of it. And it breaks down and uses enzymes to try to break down the alcohol and get rid of it. But by doing that, it can't focus, the liver can't focus on its main function, which is to supply glucose, or one of the functions, is to supply glucose to the tissues, but mainly your brain. So if you do get hungover or drink a lot of alcohol, what happens is that your body can't supply the glucose to your brain and to the tissues. That's why you feel lethargic or weak or lightheaded the next morning, again, because your body doesn't have enough glucose. So you throw that with the ethanol, that increases urine production, which then leads to dehydration. You have this perfect storm of opportunities to feel like crud, and that's the way that I felt like it this morning. So what I wanted to show you is just give you what I say is a hangover alleviator. Again, the easiest way to do it certainly is just not to drink alcohol, but if you do, this is a good opportunity to give you a little bit of natural energy with some natural food. So what do I use? The first thing that I use is this, and it is a lemon. You know what this lemon is, but I like it because it's alkaline. And what I mean by alkaline is that when you drink alcohol, it creates an acidic environment or a very toxic environment. So this kind of helps to stabilize the blood sugar. It grounds the body a little bit. It brings that alkaline state. But I'll take a half of a lemon, cut it in half, and I'll squeeze as much as I can out of that and put it in a little bit of glass. The next thing that I'll do is I'll get some raw organic honey. It has to be raw organic, not the pasteurized crud that you get in the store, but the raw organic honey. I like it because it's antiviral, it's antibacterial, it's antifungal. A lot of great properties in raw honey. You should have this on stock anyway. So I'll put 1 to 2 teaspoons of that with the lemon, and then I'll put in about 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. The reason that I like cayenne, it's a natural stimulant, but it's also a natural pain reliever. So again, it's a great tool, and it's a great spice. I'll use that. If you have an upset stomach, you can use some ginger. I'll grate some ginger maybe and put that in there as well, and that soothes the stomach. The last thing is that probably most people aren't familiar with, but this is spirulina. I have this. I like this. You can get this at a health food store. But it's spirulina itself. It's one of the most complete sources of nutrients of any food on the planet. So I love this. It helps to increase blood flow, as I said, but it's something that I take every day. Then what I'll do is I'll mix all of that together. I will use it with my live soda. You guys have heard me talk about my live fermented drink soda. Or you could just mix it with water, but I'll sip it over 10 to 15 minutes. Don't gulp it down, but just sip it and let your body get used to the ingredients and assimilate those ingredients that I just told you about. If you don't have that, you can buy something like a B complex vitamin here that tends to help and alleviate a lot of the symptoms. And as I said, just drink a lot of water. Those are all standard products. But again, I appreciate you guys turning in for this episode of Two and a Half. Comment on it. If you like what I have to say, certainly do that. Like my video or subscribe to it. I love subscribers. I send out a lot of information to my subscribers, so certainly do that. Or you could, right here at the bottom, you could ask for the ebook, or if you have questions, and I'll be more than happy to send you out an ebook that talks about enzymes and its role in breaking down foods and helping you feel better. So I appreciate you guys tuning in for this episode of 2 1/2 and 2 1/2. See you guys on the other side. Take care.